it's not just doing affirmations and visualization and meditation and you wake up one day, look in the mirror and you've got everything you want. You've got a big fat bunda and massive titties and a tiny waist. That is not what it is. Girls, welcome to my new podcast. I'm so excited. It's been a long time coming. If you have been following me on this new page for a while, you have known I did this like a few years ago and like did a couple of episodes and then it just fell off. So now I'm here like committed like every single week and I'm so excited. So I think the first thing we should do is introduce the pod and its name. So this came to me like in the week last week when I was in the absolute trenches, so ill, like so many ideas just came to me and this one just like fell into my head. So the name of the podcast is the HERmony Podcast and it's a play on words of in harmony. And basically it was today, like I know it's the first episode, but I've got my notes today just to make this feel a little bit more easy for me. So the concept of in harmony is like it's in harmony. So us feeling in harmony with our bodies, like feeling coherence between our brains, our hearts and our bodies. And also like in harmony in terms of like having a balance. So the balance between like pushing for what we want, but then also like allowing it to just come to us naturally. So working that balance of like masculine and feminine energy as well. But then also it's like a play on it's in harmony because it's like in her. So like you are embodying the very best version of yourself at all times and stepping into like becoming that person, and along the way we'll learn about identity work which really like plays into that. So that's kind of where in harmony or in harmony comes from, and it's about like coming back into yourself, coming back into the very best version of yourself, whatever that looks like, physically and mentally as well. So my like kind of thing and my tagline for the in harmony podcast is I want to help women to step into the hottest, the healthiest and the happiest versions of themselves, but without the hustle. So without the like grind, without the girl boss. Like we're not girl bossing anymore. We are like stepping into and embodying and attracting everything that we want to us, and our body is no exception. And that is kind of the mentality of me now, like the new life that I've stepped into and everything that's going to come through this pod. We want to be hot. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what people say. Everyone wants to be hot. Like everyone wants to be like feel and look sexy, if not for themselves, but like for the people in their life. There's nothing wrong with that. And we want to obviously be happy, like, and health is like a requirement. Like health is the biggest blessing that we could ever have. But you don't want to have to force all of that. We don't want the hustle. We want to just naturally just feel this way, like it be effortless to us. And I'm here to tell you, and my biggest mission is to tell you that it gets to be fun, light and easy for you. And that's the mission that I'm on, to teach women to step into the best version of themselves, but with a lightness. So I'll tell you a little bit about how the pod's gonna work. So again, this came to me, like the way I'm looking at it is like it's like a chicken and waffle meal. Chicken and waffles is my favourite dinner, and that's how the pod is going to run. So it's going to go in 3 parts. At first, we've got the waffle. So the waffle is just me waffling to you about what's going on in my life, what's going on in my world, and anything that I just kind of want to talk about or get off my chest. The second section is the fried chicken. So like the meat, the main part of the pod. And that is going to be me talking on a teaching point that I think kind of comes up at that moment in time that I think will be really helpful, and like something that you can take away in action today that will have a big impact on your body goals or your life goals. And the third part is the gravy or the maple syrup, depending on whatever you fancy that day. And that is going to be, so like any questions or comments or things that come up on my pages that I think someone would help, like a question that I could answer that would help someone, is what I'm going to do for the third part of the pod. So more like a Q&A, but like things that I get given in advance, I will do my best to answer them questions. So let's get into section 1, which is the waffle. And I kind of think that I should give like a bit of a backstory about how I got here. So everyone who knows me already knows that I've been a PT for the past 10 years. Absolutely loved it, but there's a bit more of a backstory to it than just that I was a PT. When I was younger, was in like really good shape, always up to the age of 18. And I took a gap year and worked in a hotel. And because I was being fed restaurant food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I really quickly got out of shape, which was not a problem. Like when I look back at the pictures, I actually wasn't really that out of shape. But for me, like having always been like quite a skinny kid, it was like a big shock. And I quickly fell into a place of like massive self hate and self loathing. And that then spiraled into it getting worse and worse and worse. And I was just like emotionally eating, like punishing myself with food. That then turned into binge eating and making myself sick. And like, sorry if this, I know I should say trigger warnings and stuff before this type of thing, but I'm just not used to saying this type of thing. But it was just like a real vicious cycle of like making myself unwell, hating myself more, not knowing what to do, and like in a complete state of panic and stress, and just wanting to be back where I was. And that went on for a few years. Like that went on all the way up into me going to uni. It kind of lasted throughout uni. And like I would do like really bad things. Like I would be like embarrassingly like taking my housemate's food and eating it and lying about it and just feeling like awful about myself, which then that self-hate triggers more like of this type of behavior where I just wasn't like loving myself better. I was trying to hate myself back into my best body. So obviously then I came home from uni. I'd made a little bit of progress, but through like force and just really strict diets, trying every single diet under the sun, and just not really getting anywhere, kind of going backwards and forwards, losing the same weight, but I had made a little bit of progress. Then I came home from uni, and I got into a relationship. And actually, that relationship was kind of a big turning point for me because it took my decision making away with food, because I lived with them and their parents. So I was having food made for me, like, which is so lovely. Um, but I then didn't have a choice about food, and obviously being then in a place where you're happy and feeling like you're in love and all these things, it kind of like takes away from the stressful place of how you feel. And that allowed me to know that like you don't have to control every single detail. You can just eat and your body will be fine. So then I quickly kind of developed a love for lifting, became a personal trainer. I'm really condensing this story down. So I keep looking at this mic because I don't want it to turn off, because I was recording on it earlier and it just turned off. But yeah, I fell in love with lifting and I got in really good shape. But the problem here was I went back to control. So I controlled every single detail. I tracked every single calorie every single day. I was going to the gym like 6 days a week. And like I couldn't do more really. Like even in the sessions I was doing, I wanted to do everything. Every single exercise that could make your bum grow, I needed to do it in that session. I'd be there for hours and hours and hours training. I would micromanage even like down to like, so I'd be tracking every calorie, but then I'd also be trying to do intermittent fasting and carb cycling and all of these things to try and optimize my results, not knowing at the time that my body was in a complete state of stress. So everything I'm doing, I'm fighting against my body. And consequently, I was never actually in my dream body. I was always like reaching to be in a bit of a better shape. And it had a knock-on effect in all areas of my life. I was like a nasty person to be around on holiday. I just was miserable because everyone else around me was eating what they wanted, but I couldn't because I was having to track my carbs. And it just was like, yes, I'm in a good body, but it feels shit. I can't lie. Like it didn't ever feel wow amazing. I was always like trying to be better, like trying to get in shape for something, and it just was like, yeah, not good. I then became a PT, and over the years, I relaxed kind of how I was being, because I started to see that this was not sustainable. And I actually went all the way the other way. So I then didn't want to track any of my food and was preaching about don't track calories, don't do this, just eat what you want. And that wasn't good advice, or for myself or anyone either. It was kind of like the complete opposite extreme. And like what kind of caused that was I was in a relationship where they didn't enjoy that side of me. So like the PT side, like they didn't like that, and it kind of made me shrink into myself. And I developed a fear of being seen. I didn't actually want people to see me in good shape because it caused unnecessary attention. And so like it became easy for me then to just be like, I'm just going to eat what I want. I'm not going to train as much. I'm not going to try and be in my best shape because it causes problems. So I went all the way the other way. And then alongside that journey, I had been studying manifestation for like 10 years. So from when I started PT and all the way up to now, I'd been studying manifestation and learning how to better my life through that kind of process. And there was always something missing for me. Like I kind of knew everything there was to know, but I wasn't really getting anywhere. Like I could say to you 2 or 3 things that I think I manifested, but I didn't, in like all of the things that I wanted weren't there. And I knew that something was missing. And over the last few years, where I've really been studying it in relation to body manifestation, because I've just had a calling, like I can't explain it, like a calling that this is the work that I'm supposed to be doing. So I kind of spent more and more and more time applying it to body, and something just clicked. It was the connection between the body and the manifestation process, and that was the link I've been missing. And when you boil that down, that boils down to nervous system regulation, because your body needs to be in a state of peace in order for you to manifest anything. Consequently, your body also needs to be in a state of peace for you to step into your dream body. And so that's how kind of everything tied together for me. And the last piece of the puzzle for me in terms of regulating my nervous system, and sometimes that comes with putting up boundaries on certain type of people or all the things. Anyway, I've done all of the things, apart from the last piece of the puzzle was to leave my job, because that was putting a massive strain on my nervous system because of the early mornings, the late nights, and the fact that it just didn't feel like in alignment with me anymore. It was a massive part of my life that I loved and like appreciate fully, but I just didn't love it anymore. And so it was something that needed to be left behind in order for me to feel completely regulated and authentic. And so yeah, that's kind of how we are where we are. What I'd like to kind of grow with this is, I really want, as I said, my mission to be that I want women to know that it doesn't have to be like stepping into your dream body can be easy. That's what I want them to know. I want being in your dream body should feel amazing, and it should be easy for you to maintain. We were all brought on this earth in these meat suits, in these bodies, and they're supposed to look healthy, vibrant. That version of yourself is the one that's supposed to show. But because of what we go through in our lives, especially at the early parts in our lives, that then has a knock-on effect in how we are able to show up for ourselves, in terms of how we are able to take care of ourselves, which then affects how we actually are visibly seen. And once we understand that and we work through kind of the things that have held us back, we are all able to show up in our best versions of ourselves. And that is obviously how we show up in the world, but also how we physically are. And that's really what I just want this work to teach. We're onto the meat, the fried chicken of the pod. So what I want to talk about today is what body manifestation is and what it isn't. Because I know when people hear me say this, I see it in their faces when I say, oh, I'm going into body manifestation. It took me a while to say it with chest, like it did. Like I almost shied away from saying it like and explaining what I do, because it's completely different to the way that I was doing things before. And so like I feel like if I explain what it is and what it isn't, it can kind of settle people a little bit more into what I'm actually going to be doing. So I'm just going to have a little look as I've written my points down. So what body manifestation isn't, is it isn't just wishful thinking and just deciding basically that you get what you want and it falls into your lap. It's not just doing affirmations and visualization and meditation and you wake up one day, look in the mirror and you've got everything you want. You've got a big fat bunda and massive titties and a tiny waist. That is not what it is. What it is you harnessing the fact that you have power over your subconscious mind and using that to reprogram yourself for success. It's making the actions that you want to take easier for you to take. So for example, like for you right now, you might want to go to the gym, but you just, for whatever reason, it gets to the evening and you drive home instead of driving to the gym. That is the way that your mind is currently programmed. It's not the priority to you to do that, or you have enough excuses in your head that are kind of deterring you from going. Body manifestation, the process of it is taking your mind and reprogramming it to have the beliefs then lead into the thoughts then lead into the actions then lead into the habits then lead into the choices and of the person that you want to become, so that when it comes to you driving home, you drive to the gym automatically. You go there because you want to go. And that all starts in the mind. That isn't a willpower thing that like, or a motivation thing like we're taught. It's down to the programs that you have in your subconscious mind. The thing about the subconscious mind is that it controls 95% of what we do, but we're not actually aware of it. So we only have awareness of our conscious thoughts. We can only store or work with 5 to 9 conscious thoughts at a time. Everything else is on autopilot. Everything else is happening automatically. So when you're driving home or going to the gym, that is an automatic process that you have the power to reprogram to do what you want it to do. But it takes dedication to doing that, and that is what body manifestation is. It's the balancing of all 3 planes of existence. You've got the physical, which is what we tend to work with on a daily basis. We take the action. So we take the action to go to the gym. We take the action to prep our meals. We take the action to try and go to bed earlier. They're actions on the physical plane. You've also got the mental, which is what I'm talking about, working with the subconscious, working with the system that you have in your body that determines all the decisions that you make. So working with the system that determines the actions that you take on the physical plane. And then you've got the spiritual, which is the fact that there is a higher power, whether you want to call it God, the all, the higher power that works with us and co-creates the existence that we want to create. So there's all 3 planes of existence that we need to work on, and currently we tend to just work on the physical. So the second point I have is it's not a substitute for healthy habits. Body manifestation doesn't mean that you don't have to go to the gym or you don't have to eat well. Like I said, it's making them decisions easier for you to make so they become automatic. So when you go to you'll do your food shop, you make better choices naturally. It's not like you're standing in front of the muffins and you're like, oh, I really, really want to buy the muffins, but I'm not going to buy them. And then you feel shitty about it. And then all you think about is the fact that you didn't buy the muffins. It's like you just bypass the muffins. You don't want to buy the muffins. Or like the opposite point is like you are able to buy the muffin and have it because you want it, but it doesn't ruin the rest of your day because you had it. Body manifestation is not just thinking positively all the time. It's not that you just have to be like, I can't wait to go to the gym. I love the gym. I love eating salad. Salads are my favourite thing. It's not that. You don't have to think positively, or it's not like you have to look in the mirror and say like, lie to yourself and be like, I absolutely love my shape right now. I look fucking amazing. Like that is just fake positivity, and that's gonna make you feel even worse because you're suppressing how you actually feel. Body manifestation is actually the opposite. It's really going into how you genuinely feel and feeling it to its fullest extent, whether it's something that happened 10 years ago, 5 years ago, yesterday. It's feeling that emotion, understanding it, releasing it, and choosing a new belief or a new way of feeling. And that is the most difficult part. That's the bit that I often avoid. And I'm still in this, like, I'm still trying to manifest my dream body. It's going through your limiting beliefs, working out where they came from. And sometimes that comes with a darkness, like a shadow that you have to feel and let exist with you, and choosing to have a different belief anyway. These are all things that you have to do on a regular basis. The good thing about it is often these processes are better done little and often. So it's a couple of minutes a day throughout the day that you have to do every day to reprogram yourself, or to make sure you're showing up in the energy that you need to be showing up into. But it's not a one and done process. It's a consistent thing over time that becomes part of your life. The final part of the pod is the gravy, the syrup. It's the questions that you guys put to me that I can try and answer. Now, I didn't have any questions because obviously this is the first episode. I did put it on my story, but no one gave me one back. But I did get a comment in my inbox to something that I posted, and the comment was, "My body is so inflamed and dysregulated that I wake up tense," and that is something that I can help with an answer because I have been there. I literally used to wake up, and I'm not exaggerating, with a massive bowling ball face. My nose would swell up to double the size. My lips would be huge, which I wasn't complaining about. Even my eyelids were big and puffy, and I just looked horrific. I would have to go and ice my face before I could even go out in the morning. It was awful. And I think there was two things to that. The first thing is that I was not getting enough sleep, and I was waking up mid healing or like cleaning cycle in my body. I was like going to bed at 11 and waking up at 5, which is not sustainable. And my body was not keeping up with the amount of sleep I was getting. It just wasn't healing quick enough. So I'd wake up puffy because I was in the middle of that cycle. And the second thing is I was chronically stressed. Like, can't even explain, chronically stressed. And what that means, the chronic stress is, the way I can explain it is like the nervous system works in a loop. So your nervous system your nervous system goes into either fight or flight, which is your stressed state, or rest and digest, which is your calm state. So you've got your sympathetic nervous system, which is stress, parasympathetic, which is calm. If your body is always in a state of stress, that then has a knock-on effect on all of your other systems. So a stressed nervous system will elevate your heart rate. An elevated heart rate will have a knock-on effect on your breathing. Your breath will become more shallow and faster. That then has a knock-on effect on your hormones. So you'll have a heightened adrenaline and cortisol, and that will have a knock-on effect on your inflammation because of your lymphatic system. So your lymphatic system isn't able to pump the waste away as efficiently. So because of that, that's why you're more inflamed. So it's actually started from a dysregulated nervous system, and it's trickled down all of your systems to your lymphatic system. So what you have to do is you have to regulate your nervous system before you go to sleep. You can do 3 to 4 minutes of breath work. I use the 4-7-8 method. You can find YouTube videos that show you exactly how to do it. And then you can also do like a very good lymphatic routine, which I will record and show you, but also you can find them on YouTube. Just a couple of minutes of lymphatic drainage in the morning, and that will help you to over time depuff. I honestly have seen such amazing results of this. I used to be so puffy. The thing about it is that you can be in very good shape, but if your body's puffy, you're not going to see it. So you can have the same muscle tone and the same leanness of someone else, but you could be carrying chronic inflammation because you're chronically stressed, so you look more puffy. It still makes a difference, so you still have to think about that as well if you want to be in great shape or if you want to feel good. So there's obviously lots of other ways to regulate your nervous system, but breath is one of the quickest and easiest ways to get it done, so I always just go to breath. So yeah, that is my advice to that person. So yeah, that is the end of the pod. Thank you for listening. I will get better at this. I won't need my notes as much. But stay hot, feel happy, be healthy, and I'll see you next time.